Would you like to sponsor your own US green card without needing an employer? Well, if you are very accomplished in your field and the work that you do matters to the United States, you might be able to make that happen. Today, we're going to talk about what's called the National Interest Waiver green card, which would allow you to petition for yourself without needing an employer to get your own green card in the United States. I'm immigration attorney Keilani Hunks Villafranca. I help my clients from all over the world pursue visas and green cards so they can come and live and work in the US and pursue their dreams for their careers and their families. So if that sounds like you, stay tuned. Let's learn more. Okay. Today, we're going to talk about what's called the National Interest Waiver green card. It has a lot of different names. People refer to it a lot of different ways. So let's get into the technicalities a little bit so you know exactly what we're talking about and there's no confusion. So if you want a green card, which is permanent residence in the United States, there are two main ways to do that. The first is through family. The second is through employment. What we're talking about today is employment-based residency. There are different categories of employment-based green cards, and they all start with the letters EB for employment-based, EB1, EB2, EB3, and each category has a different set of rules to make you eligible. Today, we're talking about the EB2 category. And specifically one case within the EB2 category, which is the National Interest Waiver green card case. Now, why is it called National Interest Waiver? Well, because you have to waive something. You have to ask for some part of the case to go away in order for you to sponsor yourself. And the part that you're asking the government to waive is the employer sponsorship. Normally, when you are looking to work in the United States and your employer is the person getting your green card, the employer has to go through quite a bit of, your employer has to go through quite a few steps in order to sponsor you for a green card. And one of the main ones is getting a labor certification showing a lot of things, but generally what a labor certification does is show that the employer is going to pay you the proper wage and that there's nobody else in the US who can do this work, and so they have to hire somebody outside the United States. For an EB2, National Interest Waiver case, you're asking the government to waive that labor certification. You're saying, the work that I do is so important to the country that it doesn't matter if somebody else here does similar work, or if an employer could find someone like me but who's not me. Doesn't matter. The work I do is so important that we need to not do the labor certification piece at all. Let's waive that and just let me move forward on my own merit and ask for a green card because my work is that important to the United States. Now, how do you prove that, right? That's a really big category. I love the National Interest Waiver cases because they can be really flexible. What matters to the country is a lot of things. The United States is huge and the people here are diverse. So the things that matter to this country encompass a wide range of industries and skills and projects. So the National Interest Waiver can be a really good fit for people who are very accomplished and very capable, but whose work does not readily fit into another visa or green card category. So let's unpack it. What do you have to prove to get a green card through the EB2 National Interest Waiver? All right, at a high level, the first thing you have to show is that either you have an advanced degree, so that is a degree above college, above the undergraduate level, so that's a master's degree, a PhD, MBA, something like that. If you don't have that, you have to show that you're a person of extraordinary ability, which you prove by showing certain things listed out in the law. Now, the easiest way to get through this first part is to have an advanced degree. So if you have an advanced degree, great, we show that, we move on. If not, you have to prove the extraordinary ability criteria, and those are quite a bit more subjective, and the person at immigration can look at them and say, yes, I agree, or no, I don't agree that you really are extraordinary. If you have an advanced degree, we don't have to do the extraordinary ability analysis for this part of the case. That's great, that's preferable. Okay, so part one, either you have an advanced degree or you are extraordinary according to the criteria listed in the law. Once we get past that first part, then we move on to the real meat of the case, which is proving that your work has substantial merit and national importance. What does that mean? There's not a lot of guidance in the law, but we do have guidance based on the cases that are approved and denied, and seeing what immigration really cares about. We also have some case law that directs our thinking in this area. So, substantial merit and national importance. Substantial merit means that the work you do matters, like it is of a degree of importance that other people care about it, and that it's impactful in your field, it's impactful to other people, it's impactful in your industry, and that the work you do matters in some way. And then next, we have to show that the work you do matters to the United States. Now, a lot of people hear that and they think, well, I don't do anything with the military, or I'm not an astrophysicist, so my work isn't going to count. Don't think that way. Certainly, not everyone can get a national interest waiver green card. These cases are not for just anybody, but they're perhaps wider than you might think. So how do we show that your work is in the national interest? Well, there are a lot of ways to do that. On the side of entrepreneurs, if you're an entrepreneur and the work you do has impact in the economy of the country, that's a way that we can show that your work is of interest to the United States. So maybe you hire a ton of people in an area that is economically disadvantaged, and your business has helped to revitalize that area. Well, that matters to the country. On the other side, we could perhaps look at things that the federal government or the state governments are prioritizing. So there are always bills being passed or proposed, projects being handled by the government, analysis of problems and how to improve them. If your work shows up in one of those things, that's a really good way to show that your work is in the national interest. If the government is talking about it, thinking about it, working on it, and you can help, then that matters. When we're thinking about maybe an artist or somebody who works with culture, if the topic that you work on or things that you do show up in the Smithsonian or in other culturally relevant events supported by the government, well, then we can show the US government has looked at your field, looked at your industry, and decided that it is of importance to the country. So these are just some very general ideas because every case is going to be unique. But the fun part about these cases is figuring out how we make this argument, because there are a billion ways to make a successful argument here. So if your work is really important in your field and we can argue strongly that it's important to the country, then you can start to make a really good case for a national interest waiver green card, a national interest waiver green card. So what have we gone over so far? To get an EB2 national interest waiver green card, you have to show that either you have an advanced degree or you're a person of extraordinary ability. Once we've passed that first test, then we show that your work is of substantial merit and national importance. Excellent. But we don't stop there. Often people forget this third part of the test, and it's really critical because this is the waiver part of the national interest waiver. So once you've shown the first part, you then have to continue, go further and show, because of those things, that it is in the interest of the country to waive the labor certification and let you file your own case without an employer sponsor. That's critical. You can't forget this part of the case because it's a huge part of why you get to ask for this green card without an employer sponsor. So how do we show that? In a couple different ways. We could show that perhaps the work that you want to do, the work that you need to do that matters to the country, you can't do without a green card or citizenship. And the only way to get citizenship is through a green card. For example, say you work for a foreign space agency, like the European Space Agency. You want to work for NASA, but you know that NASA will not give you a job without a green card or citizenship. NASA's expressed interest to you, but have said, sorry, our hands are tied. As long as you don't have a different status, we can't employ you. And so that's a way to show you need to waive this labor certification because I can't do the work unless I have a green card or citizenship. Another thing that you can do to show that your work is in the national interest, and that because of it, the labor certification should be waived, is show that the work you do is highly, highly specialized. So if there are not very many people who do the work that you do, or it takes decades to become as skilled as you are, that's a reason to request a waiver of the labor certification. Another reason for entrepreneurs, if you're going to create jobs in the United States, you can use that as justification for a waiver of the labor certification. So again, a lot of ways to make this argument, but you have to make it. You cannot skip this part of the case because it's critical to winning the national interest waiver green card. Okay, so we have shown that you are minimally qualified with an advanced degree or extraordinary ability. Your work matters and it matters to the country, and that because of some important factor, the US government needs to waive the labor certification. So what do we do next? Well, we show that you have a project that you're going to do in the United States. There's another self-sponsored green card called the EB-1A that's backwards looking. You show that you are extraordinary based on the work you've already done. The national interest waiver is different. Yes, we care about the work you've done because it is supportive of the work you're going to do, but the main thing for the national interest waiver is forward-looking. We care about the impact you are going to have on the United States once you get your green card. So we need to show what you're going to do. You have to have a plan. It can either be a letter of support that you write yourself with a work proposal. It can be an offer letter of employment if you already have an offer of employment. It can be a formal 5-year business plan that is very detailed and has economic projections for your company. There are various ways to do this, but you have to have a plan. And then we have to show that you can actually execute on that plan. So we do that by bringing into play the things we've already talked about. What are your skills? What are your abilities? What track record have you already had? Who is ready to employ you? What conversations have you already started? What work is already ongoing to show that you are uniquely positioned to be able to successfully execute on your work plan? If we can do all of those things, then you have a fantastic chance of winning your case for a national interest waiver green card in the United States. And that can be so exciting for so many families because it opens up these doors that might not have been open to you before and puts you in control of your future here in the United States. A couple technical things to keep in mind about the national interest waiver green card is that it is not currently possible to process this case with premium processing. Now, I'm recording this in January of 2022. So if you're watching this far in the future, that may have changed because there is a proposal on the table right now to, I was going to say encourage, but it's really force, to force immigration to allow these cases to be premium processed because the Congress has authorized premium processing for these cases in the past, but immigration hasn't implemented the rules to accept them for premium processing. Why does that matter? Well, it's hugely important because when a case is processed with premium processing, you get a decision in 2 to 3 weeks. 2 to 3 weeks. Now, the case can go on longer than that if then you apply for your green card after the work approval. We're not going to get into the whole process right now, but it's suffice to say with premium processing, this case is way faster than without it. Without it, these cases can take a year or even 2 years to be resolved at the moment. And that's really, really frustrating. Something else to keep in mind is that you have to know if your priority date is current. Okay, what does that mean? A priority date is the date on which you can apply for your green card. This case is a 2-step process. The first is filing the I-140 to actually get approval of the national interest waiver. Once you get that approved, then you can apply for your green card. You can only apply for your green card when your number is current. And your number is current sooner or later based on the country that you're from and how many people from your country want this kind of green card. For example, for citizens of Mexico and the UK right now, there's no wait. You can file for your green card at the exact same time you file for your national interest waiver. That's because there's a quota for each country, and the quota has not been reached for Mexico, the UK, and many other countries. The quota has been reached for people from India. So if you're from India, there's a backlog of 6 years, 8 years. I don't actually remember how many years right now because it's so long that many people choose not to pursue that route if they're from India because it's such a long wait. So that's something to keep in mind before you start this kind of case. You need to make sure you understand the processing times, both once a case is filed and the overall timeline within which you're going to be able to file, because that's going to be different for each person based on the country that you're from. All right. This has been a very high-level overview of the National Interest Waiver green card case. I hope it's been helpful for you to start to think about whether or not this might be a possibility for you and your family. I want you to know that it exists because it's super exciting, and a lot of people have no idea that they could be eligible for this kind of case. If you think, I am accomplished, I do really good work, I have a positive impact, then let's talk about it. It might be possible for you to get this kind of case. I don't want you to think, my work isn't at the most highest, most impressive level in the whole world. I am not internationally recognized, so I can't ever get this kind of visa or this kind of green card. That's not true. We do have to show very specific things about you and your background, but a lot more people than think are eligible for this kind of green card. So if you have listened to this and it rings some bells and you're starting to think, let's talk about it and see if we can make a strong case for you or not. My phone number is 512-675-2945. My email is help@hawksvillafrancalaw.com. I'd love to talk to you, learn more about your case and see what I can do to help guide you on your U.S. immigration journey. I'll see you very soon. Bye.